There's an improvised memorial marking the spot on Canfield Drive where Michael Brown died on August 9th. The young, unarmed black man's shooting death by a white police officer reignited debate about race and justice all across America. In Ferguson, residents hit the streets in protest right away. Some demos turned violent, and police responded with tear gas, rubber bullets, and arrests. US historians say this kind of conflict represents the next chapter in a story that began with slavery.
Missouri was a slave state before the Civil War. Missouri stayed on the side of the Union, which meant the Emancipation Proclamation did not apply here. There were a variety of practices in the 19th century, extending into the middle part of the 20th century, that essentially made all residential areas segregated.
As protests wore on, looting and vandalism gave way to peaceful marches. Officials appointed an African-American officer to head up security in the area, and police presence on West Florissant, an epicenter of the protest activity, was reduced. In this neighborhood where more than 60% of the population is African-American, citizens say they feel targeted by police rather than protected by them.
Hands up, don't shoot! Hands up, don't shoot!
Right now, the local government is dominated by white officials, a situation that Terry Jones says could take decades to correct.
So if you look at communities like Ferguson, 20 to 30 years after the racial transition has occurred, then you start to see, and indeed you do see, all or near all African-American representations on the city council and as mayor. Ferguson is only about at the 15-year mark in that transition. Communities near it, such as Berkeley, which are at the 30-year point, have either all or nearly all African-American elected officials.
Autopsies confirmed that Officer Darren Wilson had shot Brown 6 times, but the circumstances remain unclear. Some witnesses claim that Brown had his hands up in surrender, while others say the young man rushed the officer. A grand jury will study the case and decide whether or not to prosecute the officer. Until then, Ferguson is preparing for Brown's funeral, which is expected to draw over 5,000 people to the Missouri suburb.